Salut tout le monde, soyez toutes et tous les bienvenus dans cette vidéo qui est pour moi une vidéo événement et qui est en tant que guitariste et en tant que musicien un véritable bonheur, un vrai rêve. On a pu avoir la chance avec Pascal Vigné de pouvoir interviewer Joe Satriani. Alors pour ceux qui me suivent sur Facebook et sur Instagram, vous le savez, j'étais très déçu parce que donc à nouveau Joe Satriani il a été obligé de reporter la tournée qui devait venir notamment ici à Perpignan, dans la ville dans laquelle j'habite. Et j'étais tellement déçu, encore une fois, alors que j'avais commencé les démarches pour pouvoir avoir l'autorisation de le rencontrer, faire une interview, etc. etc. C'était un bon chemin. Donc ouais, j'étais déception. Ouais, c'est ça, j'étais déception. Mais je me suis pas laissé faire. En fait, j'ai dit, bah allez, j'y vais au culot. Et donc, j'ai contacté le management de Joe Satriani. J'avais déjà eu quelques contacts avec eux auparavant. Et à ma très grande surprise, c'est un autre manager ici en France qui ont dit, OK, bah c'est bon, tu as l'autorisation. Ça s'est passé 2 jours avant le jour de l'interview. On a dit, voilà, c'est ce jour-là à cette heure. Et ils m'ont bien fait comprendre que si jamais c'était pas possible et que je devais reporter, c'était juste pas possible que je reprenne. Donc du coup, j'étais vraiment content d'être libre à ce moment-là. J'ai accepté et j'ai donc demandé à Pascal Vigné, qui est donc pour moi le plus grand représentant du style satrianesque ici en France, s'il voulait m'accompagner, ce qu'il a fait de bon cœur. Du coup, je me suis dit c'est sympa, on pouvait alterner les questions, être un petit peu complémentaire dans ce qu'on avait à lui demander. Et vous allez voir que dans l'interview, Joe, il est vraiment aussi sympa que ce qu'on peut s'imaginer, ou même plus que ce qu'on peut imaginer. Vous vous rendez compte, il est arrivé 1 minute 30 en retard. Simplement parce qu'il avait un petit problème avec sa caméra, il s'est excusé vraiment en disant désolé les gars, j'ai eu un petit problème, j'espère que je suis pas trop en retard. Une gentillesse et une humilité. Et vous voyez, ça mine de rien, le côté humain, ben, ça il fait aussi chez les guitaristes et chez les musiciens. Donc franchement, total respect rien que pour ça. Pour le reste, je me suis juste cassé la nénette à pouvoir faire des sous-titres parce que j'avais vraiment envie de laisser brut de décoffrage tel qu'on l'a vécu avec Pascal. Vous allez voir en plus que je suis vraiment déçu parce que je parle pas trop mal anglais d'habitude, mais là j'étais tellement impressionné et puis j'avais tellement peur de raconter des bêtises que j'ai un accent qui est vraiment pourri. Donc ne l'écoutez pas. Lisez les sous-titres, ça ira parfaitement bien. Et heureusement que Pascal était là pour rattraper le niveau. Bref, je vous livre ça maintenant et je vous dis merci encore pour tout et merci à toi Joe. I just changed the pictures like this. Oh, you're big.
Here I am.
That's good. So we had a few questions for you, Joe, and
Yeah.
I will begin. So the very first question I want to ask you is, how is doing Joe Satriani today? And when I say Joe Satriani, not the musician, but the human being.
Oh, well, thanks for asking. Very well. I'm very fortunate that here in San Francisco, things are going well. I'm well, family's well. We're so happy that the Elephants of Mars is finally released and we can finally share the music with the fans. So that's making today fantastic.
Great, great, thank you. I ask you this because usually people want to ask many things about technique, about music, but not the human being. And for me, you can't separate them. It's impossible.
Yes, yeah, I know. that's who makes the albums actually, is the human being. That's the one who comes up with the ideas for the songs, and it's the heart and soul of the human being that you hear on the album. So it's a good question.
Yeah.
Thank you. Very great. Pascal, it's your turn.
Yeah, speaking about your new album, I just wanted to say congratulations. It's really an amazing album. I found it really eclectic. It's original, full of surprises in terms of structures, tones, textures, and it gave me the feeling that you really challenged yourself in terms of composition, arrangements, and guitar playing. Am I right?
Absolutely. Certainly after the previous two albums, What Happens Next and Shapeshifting, I really wanted to change my approach entirely. Those previous two albums were really very classic rock oriented in terms of the things you mentioned, the structure of the writing and the arrangements and how we went about recording and, how adventurous we got with sounds. We didn't go too far. We didn't stray too far because we wanted to deliver, songs like Energy, which are, you have to really kind of drive straight down that classic rock road if you want to deliver that kind of a song. or maybe something like super funky badass. That's a really good example of something where you don't go too far, and you're kind of celebrating classic rock roots. But with the Elephants of Mars, actually, I wanted to say, okay, I've done all that, and I'm not going to do it again. And I'm going to create a new era for myself where I'm going to take away all the barriers for composition and arrangement, and I'm going to force myself to write better and not to restrain myself in terms of style. I was going to try to get the craziest arrangements possible. And I knew that I was going to have to enlist a whole team of great musicians who had the same thought process that I did, which is let's make a really bold statement with this electric guitar instrumental album, one that we don't see a lot of people making. And so it took a whole team really to get the thing off the ground, I think, because we had a lot of songs and I needed to know which ones people really liked, and what they really wanted to play on, because I knew that would make or break, the album as a whole. We needed to make sure that the enthusiasm behind every performance was 100%. And so it became this great team effort. Brian Beller, Kenny Aronoff, Ray Thistlethwaite, Eric Codieux, and even our mixer, Greg Collar. Everyone was on the same page about what we were going to try to do with this album, make it, a truly standout record.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. The next question is, your new album has, I would say, a bit of avant-garde taste between an oniric dream and reality, especially when you see the video clip and when you hear the kind of music you performed. Do you agree with that opinion?
Yeah, I always thought that the way that I started making records was completely avant-garde. I mean, my very first EP, it was my first eponymous release, and that was the weirdest record I think I'd ever heard anybody make. And I was very happy that I was way out on the fringe of guitar players.
Yeah.
And this was at a time when some of my friends like Steve Vai were doing just great stuff on stage, really nailing that heavy rock genre. And, Randy Rhoads and the Shankers and Uli John Roth and Eddie Van Halen. I mean, they were all just making great strides. And I thought, I'm just going to go way out. And I brought it in a little bit with my next record, which was the first full-length album I did, which was Not of This Earth. And I didn't really fully come into the world of rock and roll until Surfing with the Aliens. So, you have to keep that in mind about where I started. And when you think about those first two efforts, you realize how the Elephants of Mars really make sense, because they are more like each other. In other words, Not of This Earth and Elephants of Mars have a kinship, because you go, oh, that's right, that's that guy that did, the Enigmatic. It's the guy who released a song called I Am Become Death. It's then you go, oh, of course he's doing the Elephants of Mars. That makes total sense.
Yeah. Great, thank you. So you've been touring for more than 30 years now, and you suddenly had to stop because of the pandemic. And I think I saw you the last time you played live at NAMM 2 years ago with Steve Vai for the Ibanez Party gig, and I was there. So I think that was the last time you actually played live.
Yes.
And I was wondering, how did the pandemic affect your life? Did you suffer from not touring? How did you keep yourself busy? I suppose you composed a lot for the new album, but how did it change your life, basically?
Well, the pandemic has been the worst thing ever. I mean, there's nothing good came of it. I wish it never happened. I've had personal loss because of the pandemic, and in the last 3 years, unfortunately, I've lost a lot of close friends. And so it's been, on that side, it's been really hard and traumatic. Economically, of course, it's really bad for most bands make their living on tour these days. So that's kind of the flip side, streaming. The benefit of streaming and everything was that we could reach this wide audience, but we need to be able to travel to actually go and finish the job, So that has been that's been really terrible for everyone, especially all the crews out there. I mean, the crew members work month to month. Artists like myself, we've been around for a long time and we can withstand stuff like this, but it's been toughest on the crew members, and then just that part of me that likes to rock and roll. I mean, that's terrible. That's the thing that actually was my main physical exercise was to run around on stage with 12 pounds strapped to my body and play for 2-3 hours a night. And so it's impossible to replace that, to replace the energy of the audience, of meeting people, of traveling, being in a different city every day, and just enjoying the world. That's irreplaceable. So I'm really hoping, for all the obvious reasons, that the pandemic subsides, but also that we can go back to doing shows and going on tour, which we hope will start at the end of September this year.
My next question is, would you agree to say that from the ages, music is a sort of door to a spiritual realm?
I think that anything that unlocks the true feelings that you have inside is really important in life, because you only live once. You come through this thing, and to lock things away is really a bad idea. You're just limiting your experience. And even though the world is rough and life is tough, there's a lot of wonder in the world. There's a lot to be happy for and to celebrate. And so to do that, you just need these things. You need art, you need music, you just need that anything that allows you to see how other people are expressing themselves, and you need to take part in that. So I would say that in that way, music is a very important spiritual part of who we are as human beings.
Thank you.
In terms of guitar playing, you mentioned your very first EP a few minutes ago. How has your playing evolved through time? If you think about Joe in 1984 and now in 2022, how would you describe your, guitar playing journey through all this period?
Well, I certainly could play a lot better. I'm like the guy who took the longest to get good at what he could do. I'm not really sure why. I used to think when I was really young that it was just purely emotional, that, I'd get so nervous getting up on stage that the shows that I did when I was 14 and 15 were always disappointing, because I thought I only was able to show the audience, a third of what I could do. And I could never figure out what was stopping me. And of course, it was just myself. It was the fear of being criticized, a fear of failing, making a mistake or something like that. So I would always, hold back. And then I think it just took a lot of experience to realize that the audience was with me and not against me, and that they were, rooting for me in a way to succeed. And so I should let it all out. Once I started to relax a little more, I started to have experiences on stage where I would show like almost 99% of everything that I could do. And I would get that positive feedback. And I thought, this is, you finally arrived at that point where you can start to deliver. And I don't think it really kicked in until, I accidentally stumbled into a solo career. It wasn't something that I was pursuing. I certainly didn't think I was going to become a solo instrumental guitarist. I always thought I'd be a guitarist in a rock band, But that year in '88, when I was beginning to do shows as a solo artist, I was also playing with Mick Jagger, and it was the strangest dichotomy, you know, playing 2 sets a night in a small 300 capacity club, trying to play instrumentals and figure out what to do. And then 2 months later, in front of 90,000 people at the Tokyo Dome, playing with Mick Jagger in a big band, running around. You know, it was a great lesson in the extremes, you know, and I learned a lot from Mick, and I learned a lot from the other guys in the band, but most importantly, I learned about myself, about what I was capable of. And this is a good example of how opportunity is so important, because right now there are young guitar players who are really, really phenomenal, and they're doing things on the guitar that have never been done before. And I wish there was more opportunity for them. I wish they had 10 places to play in their town so they could gain experience with the stuff that they now do on social media, you know, alone in front of their phone. They need to get out and do that in front of people to see really how they can work on it and how people react to it in real time. This is really important for the development of a musician who is either just a player or a player and a composer. So I hope that changes, because great things happening in the guitar world because of the new generation of players.
Yeah,
Definitely. My new question will be about gear, because here on my channel, and I see that you have a wonderful room behind you.
Yes.
With 2 little toys I want, really. And the question is mainly about your new guitar you use on the clips where we can see you, and mainly the one where you have 3 pickups, 2 single coils. I think it's something humbuckers, and the true humbucker on the bridge. And if you could speak a little more about this, it would be really great.
I don't have that one currently in the room here. It's out in the studio. Basically, what we decided to do was to finally solve the riddle of the gold chrome guitar, which is something we started in 1989. So if you go back and you search Big Bad Moon,
yeah,
you'll see me holding this guitar in that video. It is me, although it doesn't really resemble me, but that was me. and I'm holding this guitar, which was our first attempt, which was an utter failure in terms of the finish. We weren't quite sure how to do it, but we did have the 2 single coils and a humbucker. We had these little mini switches and the edge vibrato bar. And that video totally destroyed that guitar because there was so much artificial rain and all kinds of chemicals thrown on me. So there would be smoke coming from me all the time. But the guitar remained in my stable, and I kept using it, and we kept trying to get it to work. Fast forward to the last few years, once the team at Hoshino had solved the riddle of how to make a chrome guitar perfectly, then we said, well, now it's time to make the gold boy, to make the gold chrome guitar. So that's what it is. It's basically a gold tinted chrome guitar like the CR1, except, as you pointed out, it's going to have 2 Satch tracks in the single coil positions, neck and middle. It'll have a saturate in the bridge. It will have 3 semi-mini switches, so you can get up to about 12 positions maybe, one of them being completely off, so it's going to act as a kill switch as well. And coil split, I think, on the bridge, and you can also pop up the volume knob to engage the high pass filter. 22 frets, so it's old school, like the original JS1, and fret size like the new ones, and it's a great guitar. It looks amazing. It's like you have to see it in person. It's like the chrome guitar. You just got to hold it in person because it looks so beautiful. It kind of freaks out the camera very often when you try to do a photo session with it. But I think Jen Rosenstein did a great job for the Guitar World shots that we did. She was the first one who shot that guitar form. We're hoping that it will be available at the NAMM show this June.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. That's great. Concerning also the guitars, usually you use the basswood bodies, and you are more and more with alder bodies. Do you feel
most of the time, I'd say on this new album, I used probably half the tracks were. It's really hard to try to recall the exact percentage, but let's say half the tracks were the older guitars, because I had the CR1 and the MCO, the red guitar. And then I also, the MCO is basswood. And where's this guy here? Just give me a second.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is a prototype. This is basically like the MCB, the Muscle Car Black
Yeah.
JS guitar. My wife did some Paisley artwork, and they were turned into decal. So this is a prototype. Great sounding alder body guitar, like the Muscle Car Orange.
Did you do the artwork?
No, this is my wife, Rubina. All this artwork here. She did all the straps as well.
Wonderful.
At D'Addario. And then of course the 7-string is all mahogany. That was on 3 songs. So it was a combination of woods, I guess. Little bit of electric 12-string, Jerry Jones sitar. I think there's only one song that it's got a bit of a sort of a Ibanez Fender Gibson collection, but it's only for about 15 seconds. In the intro to Faceless, there's you hear some really clean classic rock sounding guitars finishing out the piano intro, and that's about 6 or 8 guitars. Like I think it's a Telecaster, a Stratocaster, a 335, a Les Paul, and 2 JSs. You know,
Awesome. Yeah.
All sort of mixed together, just playing delicately. Sometimes it's fun to do that, you know. But the main track is the chrome guitar.
Cool.
And to finish with, we wanted just to say a big hello to Patrick Ronda, that normally should be there but couldn't. And he told me that I must tell you how he is thrilled about your new album, and he wanted to tell you congratulations, and he hopes he will see you soon.
I really hope to see Patrick soon. Yeah, give him my very best. Thank you.
Cool.
We'll do it. Thank you very much. You have to know that Pascal and Patrick are working together really regularly.
Yeah. We've done a lot of touring together, so.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. It was great talking to you, Joe. Good luck with the new album. Congratulations. And we hope to see you in France next year.
Yes, for sure. 2023. We'll be there in April.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you again for everything. And thank you again for your music also.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Alors, qu'est-ce que vous en pensez, les gars?
Bah déjà, c'est quand même passé super méga vite.
Oui.
Mais c'était sympa.
C'était génial. C'était génial. Moi, je ne sais pas comment tu as ressenti au final, mais il m'a donné l'impression d'être tellement simple et accessible que je me dis, mais je le kiffe, ce mec, c'est pas possible.
Ouais. Non, il est super cool, super accessible.
Non, c'est vraiment génial. En tout cas, on espère aussi que vous, qui avez regardé cette vidéo, vous vous êtes vraiment régalé autant que nous.
Ouais.
Nous, de pouvoir parler avec lui, et puis surtout de voir que au-delà des années, Joe, c'est quand même quelqu'un qui reste, comme j'ai dit, simple, abordable. Et pourtant, je veux dire, il reste vraiment un monstre de la guitare pour nous.
C'est clair. C'est
vraiment génial. Donc, vraiment super. Écoutez ce nouvel album qui est vraiment, il déboîte vraiment bien. Pour moi, c'est vraiment une bonne fusion entre ce qu'il faisait avant, la période qu'il a fait récemment, aussi avec de shape shifting, etc. Mais honnêtement, moi, j'ai kiffé et merci surtout, mon Pascal, d'être venu.
Merci à toi pour l'invitation, c'était génial. J'ai passé un super moment, c'était fantastique et ça m'a fait vraiment plaisir.
C'est super. D'ici là, prenez bien soin tous de vous, de vos familles, et on se dit à très très bientôt. À bientôt, Pascal.
À bientôt. Ciao.
Ciao.